live. I'm not 100% sure, but we're going to check here in just a second. I'm waiting for all the things to happen. And I think all the things have happened. I think we're live. Hi, my name is Cindy. I'm with Reinvented Delaware, and we love to repurpose and reinvent all sorts of home decor. And I was so excited that Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint Facebook page asked me to share one of our projects here. And I'm so excited to show you this project. So before I get started, if I could just have like a thumbs up or something like that, just to make sure that I have everything going just right. I'm trying out a new mic and I want to make sure you can hear me just fine. On Facebook Live, I have not done a lot of them, but we're going to get this done. So somebody's watching and I'm pretty sure you can hear me. So that's what I'm hoping. I don't see any comments, but oh, there we go. Yeah, I see the comments now. Awesome. So everything is going well. So a couple of disclaimers. Chances are I won't be able to answer your comments here and now, but we do have somebody that will be moderating and answering the comments for me because I don't think I can do two things at once, to be perfectly honest. Second disclaimer, I'm in the warmest room in my house so that I have good light, which means I'm really roasting over here. Anyway, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the comments, and our moderator is going to take care of that. Her name is Chris. She'll be taking care of that. So please feel free to ask any questions. And I just appreciate you being here. And I have a question. Are you ready for spring? Like, who isn't? I have a window open today because it's warm enough here in Delaware. And that's always fun when that season starts to come around. And I have a great project for you. It's this. This is a spring wreath that I made, and I wonder if you can guess what I used to make this wreath. Well, of course, I use Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint in several different colors, but what do you think those little flowers are? Let me show you what they are. This is what we're going to end up with. Let me show you how to get there. There we go. This is what we're going to use to make those. A pine cone. Now, don't ask me what kind of pine tree that this came from because I'm not exactly sure. I know it's a long needle pine tree in our yard. It was a Christmas tree one year that we planted, and these lovely pine cones fall off of it every year. I love the curved shape of it. This is just a great pine cone. Whatever pine cone you get is probably going to look a little different, but you'll be able to do the same thing. So don't worry about that. Okay, so you know what the final project is going to look like. You know the main ingredient that we're going to be using. Let me go over the other supplies that we're using. And I had to make notes. I didn't want to miss a detail for you. And by the way, if you do miss this here, you're going to be able to watch it in the replay, so that's awesome. And there will also be a corresponding blog post on Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint blog. There'll be a link and all that, so you stay tuned for that. So let's go over the supplies. You're going to need a wreath form. Now the form that I used, let me show you the back side of it, is one of these wooden ones. It's about a 12-inch. You get them for like a pack of 4 on Amazon. They're next to nothing. And that's the one that I used. But you could also use a wire frame. You've seen these at the dollar store, I'm sure. If you decide to use this kind of frame, I suggest that you wrap it in burlap ribbon first to give it some place for the moss to hold on to. You'll see what I mean in a minute. The other thing that you could use would be a grapevine wreath, and you could either spray paint it or leave it natural brown. You could leave it really either way. So whatever kind of wreath form you already have, you probably have just the right one. I think you could even use a straw wreath. So we'd have to see how that, if you do, could you let me know, excuse me here, could you let me know if you use that straw wreath? Because I'd like to see it. I would like to see it. You could tag here on Miss Mustard Seeds account, and then we would, we would be able to see it. That would be really awesome. All right, so the next supply, it's the fun part, the paint colors. So Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint comes in a dry form and you mix it. It comes in a bag and you mix it usually on a 1-to-1 ratio. There's a new formula out. The new formula is wonderful, super easy to mix up. And I'll tell you, I've used Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint for a long time. And I buy a lot of that paint. I love that paint. And I like to put it in these deli containers. I bought a pack of these. I don't know. They were like 50 of them in the package for under $10. They're just deli containers. You've seen them. They have potato salad in them at the deli. I just bought them. I dump my paint right in there, and then I label it, and I have a nice place to store it out in my workshop. So you're going to use that. I'm not going to open this because I do have my window open, and I wouldn't want any mishaps. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to set that aside. The colors that I chose, alrighty, we're going to show you this here, and you're going to laugh at my little palette. It's an ice cube tray, because I didn't need much paint to paint these little pine cones. I used an ice tray, excuse me, to mix up my colors. And I'll tell you about mixing up and how much I use. But let me just point out some of the colors. So we have arabesque, dried lavender. This is my own custom mix, and I'll talk about that in a minute. This one, golly, it's leaving my mind right now. This one here is by the ocean. We have boxwood, we have Luckett's green, and we have pink grapefruit. That used to be called apron strings, but Miss Mustard Seed's Milk Paint they're in the process of changing some of the names. So those are the colors that I used. And to mix up, I used about a tablespoon of the paint and the same amount of water. And you want to use like a lukewarm water. You don't want it hot and you don't want it cold. It will mix really nicely in lukewarm water. And if you have any trouble mixing it up, and I don't think that you will, but if you have any trouble, this here product, this is called, whoops, how can I get that there? There we go. Everything is backwards when you're doing these. This is called Milk Mix Easy, and a couple of drops. One of the colors, well, I'll tell you, my own custom mix color didn't want to mix up so well. Some colors are different. Think of a crayon. Like when you color with a yellow, how it is different from when you color with, say, a blue. It just, the properties of the color are just different. I can't explain it, it's science. But anyway, I had trouble mixing this color. I'll tell you about the two colors I used. So I put about a drop into this little ice cube tray, stirred it up, no problem. I mixed my paints up yesterday so that I could finish the project to show you, and then I left it in the fridge covered up with some saran wrap, no problems. I've done that many times when I've had too much paint for a project, or if I haven't had time to finish the project. I've put the container with the lid in the fridge, and then I just pick it up the next day. So that's no problem. So there's that. So let me tell you about the custom mix color that I did. That's this deep, deep purple color here. I mixed some Flow Blue and the color Tricycle, which is a red. And I mixed the powder first. And when I added in the water, I was so surprised at how rich and dark that color was. So it's kind of fun. If you want to mix some of your own colors and kind of play artist, then you can. And if you don't want to, that's fine, because Miss Mustard Seed's Milk Paint has lots of colors to choose from. Alrighty, let me move my keyboard here. Too many things. Alrighty, let's see where we are. So the next supply that you will need are clippers. Yesterday, when I started making my wreath, I used these kind of wire clippers, and they're old and dull, and honestly, I wore a sore on my hand because they were too dull to use. Ridiculous of me to even try it. So I ran to Ace Hardware, and I bought these. These have a little spring on them. They are, which is great if you're at my age group. I don't know how many are out there in my age group, in the upper 50s, early 60s group. That's where I am. And I have arthritis in my hands, so having that little spring clip is really handy. The other thing that I really love is that they were pointed. So you'll see, I'll be able to get right into that pine cone. But these are florist clippers, florist snips, I think they were called. I would have never thought to look there, but the hardware guy directed me over there, and I brought these home. So you're going to need those. You're going to need a glue gun and glue sticks, by the way. Don't bother yourself with a 4-inch glue stick. Just buy the 8-inch sticks. Take my word for it. These are annoying. One other thing, if you don't want to use an ice cube tray, and I got these, it was at the dollar store. I think I paid $1 for 2 of them. You could also use little jars with a lid to mix the paint. That way, if you do have extra, you can always put it in the fridge because you have a lid. I would just make sure that you don't use this container for any kind of food storage. You know, that all makes sense. Okay, let's see what else we need. You're going to need some twine, which I don't have. Oh, here we go. You know, a piece of jute twine as the hanger. You're going to use that for the hanger. And then the last thing you need are some artist brush. These are Walmart artist brushes. I happen to really like this one here. See the, I happen to like this one really well. And I also had this one. And I did not buy new ones. I actually used old ones because you kind of tear up your brush doing this. I wouldn't suggest doing this with a regular size paintbrush. You'll see why. You'll see why. Let's just keep going here. Alrighty. I don't know if there's any questions, but if there are, please feel free to ask any of the questions. And yeah, we're going to move on. First step we're going to do is we're going to mix up the paint. So my paint is already mixed up. I would suggest that you mix the paint up first because Miss Mustard Seed's milk paint in the powder form needs to set a while and soak up and absorb. Think about like when if you're baking. If you're baking, that flour needs time to really soak into the moisture. That's kind of what you're doing here. You're not baking. You're not going to eat this paint, but it does need time to set. So you mix a 1-to-1 ratio, and then you give it a nice good stir. If you feel the need, you add the milk mix ease that I said over there. A drop is all that it takes. Give it a nice stir with a fork. If you're looking for more instruction about how to mix the paint, Miss Mustard Seed's milk paint blog has lots of tutorials, and there's a great one on there. I just read it this morning. It's such a good article, so you can always head over there for more directions about that. And so you're going to mix all your colors first and let them set. Then the next step that we're going to do is cut the pine cones. All right, so in this size pine cone, and for reference, you can kind of see how long this one is. Some pine cones are double. I mean, they can be really big. I got about 10 or 15 pine cones for each wreath. Depending on the final look that you want, you may need more or you may need less. I'll talk about that more as we go. But all you're going to do is open up the snips, not these. Let's get rid of those. And let's see here. You're going to open up the snip. Let me show you. And if you just, now this is going to fly somewhere, and I'm not going to worry about where it goes. But can you see here, right where I've got that snip? There we go. Right into there. I'm going right in there where the stem is. And there it goes. I'm not going to worry about where it goes. But look what you have here. Isn't that interesting? Look at this. And then I just go in another. So I'm going back about, I don't know, let's see how many. About a layer or two. We'll see here. There we go. All right, I was able to catch it. And there you go. Look at that. It's like a little pine cone flower. Isn't that so pretty? I had no idea that that's what that would look like, but golly, I sure do like it. So you can see out of that, I could probably get at least 3 out of each pine cone. There's another one. So I just go in there kind of deep, give a nice little snip. There we go. And the front of my surface is getting really dirty. And there's another one. Isn't that so cute? I love those. So you just take, a few minutes and clip them all. I wanted to make 2 wreaths, one to show you at the end, and then one to show you in process. I don't know, it was about 20 minutes of just clip, clip, clip. And I let them drop into a box, and then I got my shop vac out because it's a little bit messy. Now, if you're wondering about bugs with pine cones, because that's a concern, the reason that I didn't worry about it was because I picked them all up about a year ago, no kidding. And they sat in a box in my garage. When I went to get the box out a couple of weeks ago, there were no bugs. If you're concerned about yours, you can always put them on a cookie sheet and bake them on a low temp, like 170, 200 for a few minutes. You don't want to burn them by any means, but you just want to kill whatever might be in there. You can also Google ways to kill the bugs. To me, that's the easiest and the best way to do it. So you can go from there with that. All right, let's see. Get these out of the way. So once you get all your pine cone flowers cut, I'm keeping an eye on the time here too. You're going to paint them. So painting is easy. Here's one of them. And let's see, I'm going to use by the sea. I have by the sea here. Get some paint on my paintbrush, and I'm trying to do this without making a huge mess, and I'm just painting them. You're going to get a little bit of residue off of the pine cone. We have real sandy soil where we live, and the pine cones are a little bit sandy. Golly, I'm trying to do this backwards. That's a lot of fun. So you paint it. I decided not to completely cover my pine cone. You see how I have some brown left over on some areas? I like that. If you want to completely cover it, you can. You can paint this side and completely cover it. You could also paint the back side if you wanted to completely cover it. You certainly can do that. You're going to see over here on the side, I have a bunch of them painted. Let's scoot them over here. Already. Here's the arabesque. That's the arabesque. We have, this is my custom mix color. I was thinking that real deep purple. I'm kind of thinking of a, what are those? Oh, pansies. Pansies are that color. I did some in 2 shades of green. I have Luckett's green and I have boxwood, and that's kind of my leaf of the wreath to represent the leaf. I have the by the sea. I have that one, and I'm sorry, but I can't remember this color. I should have written that one down. I'm sorry about that. I'm willing to bet that Chris can answer that question for me. So then I let them all dry. When they were all dry, all painted, and I was letting them dry, the next thing I did was glue on the moss. So the moss is just Walmart brand moss. You know that. And I basically just hot glued it right around the wreath form. Now this stuff is messy. I'm trying not to touch it too much. It's super messy. I'm gonna move the paint out of the way before some mishap happens. So it's a little bit messy, okay? So just be aware of that. And it's also, you're not going to get down every little bit. You're just going to, let's just do it here. I have a piece. You're just going to take a section like this and put on a fair amount of hot glue. This is why you want the 8-inch sticks, because you're going to go through some hot glue and just glue it on. It's just as simple as that. I'm not going to take the time to go all the way around that, but you get the idea. You get the idea of that. So then the next step is the fun part. We get to glue on these pine cones. Now let me just say what I did for the pine cones to figure out how to lay them out, where I thought they might look good, and not paying attention to, oh, here's the apron strings color. I thought that was so pretty. It's like a coral. I'm not really paying attention to symmetry. I don't like things exact. I like things the way that they are in nature, and nature is not exact. It's kind of free form. So I just laid them out the way that I thought that they would look best around the whole thing. And then I just took my glue gun. I'm not kidding. This is the easiest thing. And can you see that here? I'm separating some of that moss to get down to the wood, because if you just glue it on the moss, chances are that moss is not going to hold it really well. So I wanted to make sure that it was really secure to where the wood is. So I spread that moss apart. I put a big dollop of glue right there, and I just pressed on. There we go. I just pressed on the little pine cone flower, and I worked myself all the way around the circle. I went back and I added in places where I thought it was a little sparse looking. Here we go. Yeah. I just stuck my finger in hot glue. Well, that was fun. Yeah, so you can see this part here might have to be cut off. See all this moss? You can just take scissors and trim this part right off. It's very easy to do. So let's glue a couple more. I don't want to hold you too long. I know you're busy. I know you have things to do. So I'm going to try to wrap this up here. I don't want to hold you up too long. Yeah, so I just went all the way around, and here and there I added some of the green ones. Let me mention the top, that first piece of the pine cone that I cut off. Where did that pine cone go? Well, it's somewhere. There it is. That very top piece right here. Hold on to those little ones. They're like this, because the little ones you can paint and they can be like a filler. So if you want to go all the way around your wreath with the flowers, and then you feel like you have some areas that could just use a little bit more, you could use these here as filler. Now, let me also say, you can fill up this wreath as much as your heart's content. You can, it's your wreath. You do it exactly the way you want. I wanted some of the green to show, the moss to show. So I went a little sparse on it, and I really like how this turned out. It's very springtimey. It's almost like the blooms are in grass. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. I really like how it turned out. But you could fill it in more if you wanted to. If you wanted your flowers to be closer, just grab a couple of extra pine cones and just fill it out even more so. The last step that you're going to do is to add a way to tie it on, to loop it. So I just looped a piece of twine and put a nice big dollop of hot glue. Yeah, and there it is. So what do you think? I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you get to make one. If you do, please tag Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint. We would love to see it. We love to share projects with you here on this page, and then we love to see what you do with them. So I would love it if you could share that with us. And I think we're about finished. Let me scroll down and see if there are any questions that maybe I can answer. Yeah, I think everybody, I think the answers have come. I mean, we're doing, yeah, thank you for saying that we did a good job. I really do appreciate that. I'm looking forward to showing you more tutorials here on Miss Mustard Seeds Facebook page. If you would like to follow me, Reinvented Delaware, I'm Cindy at Reinvented Delaware. I have a Facebook page, I have an Instagram, I have a blog, lots of tutorials with lots of tutorials on Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint. I've painted a lot of projects over there. And we also have a YouTube channel if you would like to join me there. Thanks again to Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint for allowing me this honor to show up here and teach all of you a new fun project for spring. I hope you get to make one. We'll see you next time.